For 3 years she'd been hiding, flying cargo, avoiding questions about her military past. Then a Mayday call shattered the silence. 180 passengers, failing systems, 8 minutes from ocean impact. She started giving instructions. Calm, precise, deadly accurate. When rescue fighters heard "storm," they froze. The legend was back. Before you watch full story, comment below from which country are you watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more amazing stories. Captain Elena "Storm" Vasquez flew cargo planes now. Medical supplies, packages, mail, nothing exciting. Just her and whatever she was hauling from point A to point B. No passengers to worry about. No combat missions. No risk. Exactly what she wanted after everything that had happened. She'd been doing this for 3 years. Flying 747 cargo jets for Pacific Freight Lines, mostly night routes across the ocean. The pay was decent. The work was simple. Nobody asked questions about her past. Nobody knew who she used to be. That's exactly how she wanted it. On this particular Thursday, she was hauling medical equipment from Los Angeles to Tokyo, a routine 11-hour flight over the Pacific. Her co-pilot was Tom Chin, a young guy fresh out of flight school, eager and chatty. He tried making conversation during pre-flight checks. "So, Captain Vasquez, how long have you been flying cargo?" 3 years, she answered, not looking up from her checklist. "What did you do before that?" "Different kind of flying." "Military?" "Something like that." She didn't elaborate. She never did. Tom had learned over their previous flights together that Captain Vasquez wasn't big on small talk. Professional, competent, but distant. Always distant. What Tom didn't know, what nobody at Pacific Freight Lines knew, was that Elena Vasquez had been one of the most decorated fighter pilots in Air Force history. 12 years of service. 2,000 hours in F-15s and F-22s. 27 combat missions. A chest full of medals including the Distinguished Flying Cross. And a call sign that had been legendary in military aviation circles. Storm. She'd earned it during a mission over hostile territory when she'd flown through a Category 4 hurricane, conditions that grounded every other pilot, to provide air support for a trapped Marine unit. She'd navigated through winds that could rip wings off planes, executed precision strikes in zero visibility, and brought those Marines home alive. They'd started calling her Storm that day. The name stuck. But that was before. Before the incident. Before the inquiry. Before she'd resigned her commission and walked away from everything she'd built. Now she was just a cargo pilot. And that was fine. It had to be fine. "Pre-flight complete," Tom said, breaking her thoughts. "Ready when you are, Captain." Elena nodded. "Let's get this bird in the air." The takeoff from LAX was smooth. Clear skies, light traffic. They climbed to their cruising altitude of 41,000 feet and settled into the long, quiet flight across the Pacific. Tom tried conversation again an hour in. "So, you ever think about going back? To military flying, I mean." "No," Elena said flatly. "Why not?" "I mean, if you don't mind me asking." "I do mind." Tom fell silent. After a few minutes he said quietly, "Sorry. Didn't mean to pry." Elena sighed. "The kid was just being friendly. It's fine. Just, that part of my life is over. This is what I do now." "Fair enough." They flew in comfortable silence for another 2 hours. Elena liked the solitude of cargo flying. No passengers meant no one depending on her directly. Something went wrong, it was just cargo at risk. Just stuff. Nothing that mattered in the big picture. She told herself that for 3 years now. At 3 hours into the flight, somewhere over the empty expanse of the Pacific Ocean, Tom straightened in his seat. "Captain, I'm getting something weird on the radio." "Distress signal." Elena's training kicked in automatically. "What frequency?" 121.5. "Emergency frequency." Weak signal but definitely a Mayday. Every instinct Elena had spent years honing suddenly activated. "Patch it through." The radio crackled with static, then a voice came through, stressed, urgent. "Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. Trans-Pacific Flight 284, we have multiple system failures. Primary hydraulics gone, secondary failing. Losing cabin pressure. Approximately 180 souls on board. Position. Static. North of your last position. Descending through flight level 350. Need immediate assistance." Tom looked at Elena, his young face pale. "That's a passenger jet. They're in serious trouble." Elena was already checking their navigation display. "They're about 60 miles north of US. What's their heading?" More static, then, unable to maintain heading. Experiencing severe control issues. Attempting emergency descent but aircraft not responding properly. Tom grabbed his radio. Trans-Pacific 284, this is Pacific Freight 77. We copy your Mayday. We're approximately 60 miles south of your position. Can you give us more details on your situation? The response came back strained. Pacific Freight, we've lost primary and secondary hydraulics. Flight controls barely responding. We're descending but not by choice. I've got 180 passengers and I don't know if I can keep this plane in the air long enough to reach land. Elena felt something she hadn't felt in 3 years, that sharp, clear focus that came with crisis. Without thinking, she reached for her radio. Trans-Pacific 284, what's your aircraft type? Boeing 777-300. Who am I speaking to? This is the captain of Pacific Freight 77. She paused. Old habits almost made her say her rank. I'm an experienced pilot. I might be able to help. Tom stared at her. He'd never heard this tone from her before. Absolute authority, zero hesitation. The Trans-Pacific captain's voice came back slightly steadier. Any help would be appreciated. I've got about 15 minutes before we're too low to recover. Maybe less. Elena made a decision. Tom, give me direct comms with them. Then contact air traffic control. Tell them we're diverting to provide assistance. Captain, we're a cargo flight. What can we? Just do it. Something in her voice made Tom move immediately. Elena established direct communication with Trans-Pacific Flight 284. This is Pacific Freight 77. Captain, I need you to describe exactly what happened. Every detail. The voice that came back belonged to Captain Robert Hayes, a 30-year veteran with Pacific Airlines. We were at cruise when we got a hydraulic failure warning. Before we could respond, the secondary system failed too. I've got minimal control, maybe 20% authority. The plane wants to roll left and I'm fighting it constantly. Fuel's fine, engines are good, but without hydraulics I can't control this aircraft properly. Elena's mind was already processing solutions. She'd trained for scenarios like this. More importantly, she'd lived through worse. Captain Hayes, have you deployed your alternate extension system for landing gear? Not yet. Trying to maintain altitude first. Don't. You'll create more drag and make the descent worse. What's your current altitude? Passing through 28,000 feet. Descending at about 1,800 feet per minute. Tom listened to Elena, amazed at the transformation. This wasn't the quiet, reserved cargo pilot he'd flown with for months. This was someone else entirely, someone who spoke with the precision and authority of a combat veteran. Captain Hayes, Elena continued, you need to use asymmetric thrust to help control the aircraft. Your engines are your backup control system. When the plane tries to roll left, increase power on the right engines and decrease on the left. Small adjustments, you're not trying to muscle it, you're finessing. I've read about that in manuals but never actually. I've done it. Trust me. Start with 5% power differential. Feel how the plane responds. There was a pause, then Hayes came back. It's working. The roll is stabilizing. Good. Now, what's your target landing site? We're trying for Honolulu but I don't think we'll make it. We're too far out and losing altitude too fast. Elena checked her navigation display. You're about 380 miles from Honolulu. At your descent rate, you'll be in the water in about 15 minutes. You need a water landing plan. The fear in Hayes' voice was clear. I've never trained for water landing. Not in a 777. Nobody really trains for that. I have, Elena said quietly. Tom's eyes widened. He pulled up Elena's personnel file on his tablet and started scrolling. Where had she trained for water landings? What kind of pilot was she? Captain Hayes, I'm going to talk you through this. But I need you to listen carefully and do exactly what I say. Can you do that? Yes. God, yes. Please. First, we need to reduce your descent rate. You're coming down too fast. Here's what you're going to do. For the next several minutes, Elena walked Captain Hayes through a series of precise adjustments using differential engine thrust and his limited control surfaces. She coached him on using the plane's natural aerodynamics, on reading the feel of the controls, on anticipating the aircraft's movements before they happened. Tom watched in silence as his captain, the quiet woman who'd barely said 3 words to him most flights, transformed into something else entirely. Every instruction she gave was precise, calm, authoritative. She wasn't suggesting. She was commanding. And Captain Hayes was following every word like it was gospel. Captain Vasquez, Tom said quietly during a brief pause in radio traffic, who are you really? Elena didn't answer. She was too focused on the radar display showing both aircraft. Tom, I need you to contact the Coast Guard. Tell them to position rescue assets approximately 320 miles northeast of Honolulu. We're going to need every ship and helicopter they can spare. On it. Tom paused. But Captain, you still haven't told me? Later. 20 minutes into the crisis, new voices joined the radio frequency. This is Hickam Tower. We have your situation. We're scrambling rescue assets and we've launched fighter support for aerial coordination. Within minutes, 2 F-22 Raptors appeared on Elena's radar, climbing fast from Hickam Air Force Base in Hawaii. They'd been launched to provide eyes-on assessment and relay information to rescue coordination. The lead F-22 pilot came on frequency, Pacific Freight 77 and Trans-Pacific 284, this is Raptor 1. We're approaching your position to provide support. Pacific Freight, are you the aircraft coordinating the emergency assistance? Elena keyed her mic. Affirmative, Raptor 1. I'm providing guidance to Trans-Pacific 284 for emergency water landing procedures. Copy that. What's your assessment of the situation? Elena ran through the details with military precision. Current altitude, descent rate, estimated time to impact, status of the aircraft systems. She spoke in clear, clipped tones, the language of military aviation. There was a brief pause from the F-22, then, Pacific Freight, you're talking like a military aviator. Can I ask your background? Elena hesitated. She hadn't used her military credentials in 3 years. Hadn't wanted to. But 180 lives were at stake. Former Air Force, she said simply. Fighter pilot. Another pause. Then, can I get your name and call sign for coordination purposes? Elena closed her eyes briefly. The call sign she'd left behind. The identity she'd walked away from. But right now, it wasn't about her pride or her past. It was about saving people. Vasquez. Call sign Storm. The silence that followed was longer. Then the F-22 pilot's voice came back, but different now, filled with recognition and something like awe. Storm? As in Captain Elena Storm Vasquez? The Storm who flew through Hurricane Patricia? Elena felt something twist in her chest. That was a long time ago. Holy, ma'am, with all due respect, you're a legend. We studied your missions at flight school. The hurricane rescue, Wait, I thought you were still in the service? I'm not. I fly cargo now. And right now we have 180 people who need help, so can we focus on that? Yes, ma'am. Absolutely, ma'am. The pilot's voice had completely changed, from professional coordination to something approaching reverence. Raptor 1 and 2 at your service. What do you need? Tom was staring at Elena with his mouth slightly open. He pulled up more information on his tablet, finding articles, mission reports, classified summaries that were publicly available. The woman sitting next to him wasn't just a former military pilot. She was the Storm, a pilot whose exploits were taught at every military flight school in the country. Raptor 1, Elena continued, ignoring Tom's stare, I need you to coordinate with Coast Guard for rescue positioning. Trans-Pacific 284 is going to hit water in approximately 8 minutes. They need rescue assets at these coordinates. She rattled off precise GPS coordinates. The F-22 pilot acknowledged and began coordinating with rescue services. Meanwhile, Elena continued coaching Captain Hayes. You're at 8,000 feet now. You're doing good. Start preparing your passengers. Brace position, life vests ready but not inflated. Flight attendants need clear evacuation plans. Hayes' voice was strained but more controlled. How do you know all this? How do you know exactly what I need to do? Because I've been in worse situations. Trust me, Captain. We're going to get your people down safely. Tom finally found his voice. Captain? Storm? You flew through a Category 4 hurricane? You have the Distinguished Flying Cross? Why are you flying cargo? Elena's jaw tightened. Not now, Tom. But. I said not now. The sharpness in her voice made Tom fall silent. At 5,000 feet, Elena's voice remained absolutely calm. Captain Hayes, this is it. In about 3 minutes you're going to touch water. Everything I've told you, this is when it matters most. Deploy your flaps to maximum. You want as much lift as possible at the slowest speed possible. Flaps going to maximum, Hayes acknowledged, his voice shaking slightly. Good. Now, and this is critical, you're going to want to pull up hard right before impact. Don't. Keep the nose down just slightly. Let the tail hit first. It'll act as a brake and reduce the forward energy. That goes against every instinct I have. I know. Do it anyway. Trust your training and trust me. The F-22s had descended and were flying in formation near both aircraft, the pilots providing real-time updates to rescue coordination. Coast Guard assets are in position, Raptor 1 reported. Rescue helicopters 2 minutes out from projected impact site. Elena watched her radar display, calculating. Captain Hayes, cut your engines at 50 feet. I know that sounds crazy, but you don't want thrust during impact. Too much risk of fire. Copy. Engines out at 50 feet. You're going to feel the plane drop fast when you cut engines. Don't panic. Just hold your attitude. Keep the wings level. That's your only job in those last seconds. Wings level. Wings level. Got it. Tom was monitoring multiple frequencies, coordinating with rescue services, but he kept glancing at Elena. The transformation was complete. This wasn't just a skilled pilot. This was a combat veteran doing what she did best, bringing order to chaos. 2,000 feet, Hayes called out, his voice tight with tension. You're doing great. Remember, tail first, wings level, commit to the landing. Once you touch, there's no going around. 1,000 feet. This is it, Captain. You can do this. All that practice with thrust control, use it now. Make micro adjustments. Feel the plane. 500 feet. I can see the waves. Steady. Almost there. 100 feet. Cutting engines now. Wings level. Hold it. Elena held her breath. On her radar, she watched the altitude indicator for Trans-Pacific 284 drop steadily, then, we're down. We're down. Hayes' voice was filled with shock and relief. We hit hard, but we're floating. The plane's intact. Deploy evacuation slides immediately, Elena commanded. Get those people out fast. You've got maybe 5 minutes before the fuselage floods. Slides deploying. Passengers evacuating. The F-22 pilots reported. Trans-Pacific 284 is down. Aircraft appears intact. Evacuation in progress. Rescue helicopters are moving in now. Elena finally allowed herself to breathe. Captain Hayes, how's the evacuation going? Fast. Flight attendants are doing their job. Most passengers are in life rafts now. I can see rescue helicopters approaching. You did good, Captain. You saved your passengers. No, Storm. You saved them. I just followed your instructions. The F-22 pilot came back on frequency. Pacific Freight 77, Coast Guard is on scene. All passengers are being evacuated. Looks like we got everyone out before the aircraft sank. Initial reports suggest 0 casualties. Elena felt something unfamiliar, relief mixed with satisfaction mixed with something she'd forgotten she could feel. Purpose. Raptor 1, she said, thanks for the assist. Ma'am, it's an honor to work with a legend. I mean that. You just saved 180 people from thousands of miles away. Tom was staring at her with undisguised awe. Captain. Storm, that was incredible. Elena shook her head. Just doing the job. Now we need to get our cargo to Tokyo. You're just going to continue the flight? After that? Cargo doesn't deliver itself. But as she reached for her controls to adjust their heading back to the original flight plan, her radio crackled with a new voice. Someone with authority. Pacific Freight 77, this is General Marcus Bradley, Hickam Air Force Base Commander. Captain Vasquez, I need to speak with you directly. Elena keyed her mic carefully. General Bradley, this is Vasquez. Captain Vasquez, or should I say Captain Storm, I just watched you talk a civilian pilot through an emergency water landing from a cargo plane cockpit. I've read your file. I know why you left the service. And I'm here to tell you that was a mistake. Elena's hand tightened on the control yoke. General, with all due respect, what happened is in the past. What happened, the general said firmly, was a misunderstanding that cost the Air Force one of its best pilots. The inquiry cleared you, Captain. The investigation found no fault in your actions. You resigned before the final report came out. Tom was trying very hard to pretend he wasn't listening to every word. It doesn't matter if they cleared me, Elena said quietly. People died that day. People died because of equipment failure, not because of anything you did. You saved more lives than were lost. But you've been punishing yourself for 3 years flying cargo when you should be training the next generation of pilots, when you should be doing exactly what you just did, saving lives with skills very few people in the world possess. Elena didn't respond. What could she say? Captain Vasquez, the general continued, I'm watching the rescue operation right now. Coast Guard just confirmed all 180 passengers and crew are accounted for and safe. You know what they're saying? They're saying it's a miracle. But I know better. It wasn't a miracle. It was training, experience, and skill. Your training, your experience, your skill, applied at exactly the right moment. That's not luck. That's who you are. General, I appreciate what you're saying, but I'm not finished. The Air Force needs people like you. Not just flying combat missions, but training others, developing emergency protocols, sharing the kind of knowledge that just saved 180 lives. You walked away because you thought you'd failed. But what you did today proves you never lost your edge. You're still Storm. You've always been Storm. Elena felt something crack inside her, the wall she'd built over 3 years. General, people died on my watch. Yes, they did. In combat. In a situation where everything that could go wrong did go wrong. And you still saved more than you lost. You flew a damaged aircraft back to base with half your instruments gone and hydraulics failing. You could have ejected and let that plane crash. But there were wounded on board. So you stayed. You fought. You brought them home. 3 out of 5 survived because of you. But you've spent 3 years focused on the 2 you couldn't save instead of the 3 you did. Silence filled the cockpit. Tom had tears in his eyes, understanding now what his captain had been carrying all this time. What do you want from me, General? Elena finally asked. Come back. Not to combat, you've done your time there. Come teach. Come help develop the protocols that will save lives in the future. Come be who you were meant to be. I don't know if I can. The F-22 pilot's voice cut in, younger but earnest. Ma'am, if it helps, and I know I'm just a junior officer and I have no business saying this, but you were my inspiration to become a fighter pilot. I read about your missions when I was in high school. I studied your tactics at the academy. And today I got to watch you do what you do best. If you decide to come back, I'd be honored to be one of your students. Elena felt tears prickling her eyes, the first tears in 3 years. What's your name, pilot? Captain Jennifer Reeves, ma'am. Call sign Falcon. You're a female fighter pilot? Yes, ma'am. Because you proved it was possible. You and a handful of others. You opened that door. Elena looked out at the vast Pacific Ocean stretching endlessly in all directions. For 3 years she'd been running. Running from failure, from loss, from the weight of command. But today, when it mattered, all that training and experience had come roaring back. Not because she wanted it to. Because people needed it. Because that's who she was. She keyed her mic. General Bradley, if I come back, it's on one condition. Name it. No combat. Training only. I teach people how to survive when everything goes wrong. I develop the protocols. I share what I know. But I'm done with the fighting. Agreed. We need instructors far more than we need another combat pilot. When can you start? Elena looked at Tom, who nodded encouragingly, then at her instruments, then at the clear sky ahead. I've got cargo to deliver to Tokyo. Give me a week to wrap up my obligations here. Then I'm yours. Outstanding. Welcome back, Storm. The Air Force has missed you. After signing off, Elena sat quietly for a moment. Tom waited, giving her space until finally she spoke. 3 years ago, I was leading a rescue mission. Equipment failed. Fire in the hold. I got most of them out, but 2 didn't make it. I resigned before the inquiry finished. Couldn't face it. But you were cleared? Apparently. I never checked. Just assumed I'd be blamed and left before they could kick me out. Tom shook his head in amazement. And you've been flying cargo because you thought you weren't good enough anymore? I thought I was dangerous. That people were safer without me making decisions. Captain, you just saved 180 people. From hundreds of miles away. Using nothing but radio and your knowledge. If that's dangerous, then we need more dangerous people in the world. Elena smiled. A real smile, the first Tom had ever seen from her. Maybe you're right. Also, I'm telling everyone at Pacific Freight that I flew with a legend. You know that, right? Please don't. Too late. I'm already composing the email in my head. Captain Elena Storm Vasquez stood in front of a classroom at the Air Force Test Pilot School, facing 30 eager students. She wore her uniform again, the one she'd packed away 3 years ago, the one that now felt both familiar and strange. Today we're going to talk about emergency water landings, she began. Not because you're likely to need this skill, statistically you're not. But because when you do need it perfectly. Let me tell you about a day last year when a civilian pilot named Robert Hayes lost his hydraulics over the Pacific. The students leaned forward, completely engaged. In the back of the room, General Bradley watched with satisfaction. Getting Storm back had been one of his best decisions. She'd already revised 3 major training protocols and her classes had the highest ratings in the school. After class, a young female pilot approached Elena. Ma'am, I just wanted to say thank you. I'm here because of you. Because you showed it was possible. Elena smiled. What's your name? Lieutenant Sarah Kim. I hope to earn my call sign someday. You will. And when you do, you'll earn it the same way everyone does, by doing something that defines you. What defines you as a pilot? I want to save lives, ma'am. Like you did. Elena put a hand on the young woman's shoulder. Then train hard. Study harder. Because someday someone's going to need exactly what you know. And you won't get a second chance to get it right. That evening, Elena received a call from Captain Robert Hayes, the pilot she'd helped save over the Pacific. They talked every few months now. Storm, I wanted you to know, I've been certified as an instructor now. Teaching emergency procedures. Using what you taught me. Passing it on. That's good, Robert. That's exactly what you should be doing. We're naming the new procedure after you. The Vasquez Protocol. For emergency situations with hydraulic failure. Elena felt a lump in her throat. You don't have to. We do. Because what you did matters. Not just for those 180 people that day, but for everyone who'll be safer because of what we learned. That's your legacy, Storm. Not the mission that went wrong. All of this. After hanging up, Elena walked to her window and looked out at the flight line, watching young pilots training in the golden evening light. She thought about the 2 she'd lost 3 years ago, carried their names with her always. But she also thought about the 3 she'd saved that day. The 180 she'd saved last year. The thousands who'd be safer because she'd decided to teach instead of hide. The general was right. She was still Storm. She'd always been Storm. She just needed 180 people in danger and a radio to remember. Back stronger. And then teaches others so they don't have to fail the same way. General Marcus Bradley, on the return of Captain Elena Storm Vasquez.